If you're looking for a battery charger and you're on a budget, this little Q6 Nano smart charger from ISDT may just be the thing for you. Hello and welcome to the Whirly Bloke channel. ISDT have just added this Q6 Nano charge to their range. It's a replacement for the popular Q6 Lite and a very similar spec, but it's a bit smaller and quite a bit cheaper. And these are available for around £22 or about $28, which is fantastic value for money if you need a small 200 watt charger you can use on the bench or in the field and you're on a budget. Like all ISDT products, this is very nicely made and very well screwed together, and it doesn't feel cheap. And it's pretty small, so it won't take up any room in your flight bag. And it comes in a few colours like white, green and yellow, so take your pick. On this side you've got an XT60 connector for your power supply and a USB plug for firmware updates, pretty important these days. And there's a fan on the back, and on this side is another XT60 connector for the battery that you're charging and the connector for the balance lead. And this charger supports ISDT back-go technology as well as normal batteries. So if you look carefully, there's another little extra pin down here if you use back-go batteries. And one thing I really like, and ISDT have done this on lots of their product, is this very subtly designed charger port here, the balance port. It's keyed, so you can't plug the balance lead in the wrong way round, and that's pretty normal. But what sets it apart is, if you look carefully, there's a little notch down here, so you can't plug a 1S battery in, because like all balance chargers, this only really charges 2S and upwards. And they've used this rocker control switch rather than the scroll wheel on their previous products. The scroll wheel was criticised quite a bit for being too sensitive, and this switch just clicks up and down, like page up and page down, and you press the centre to select things. So let's try charging something. So I've got this big 4S 10 ampere hour LiPo that I'll use to power the charger. Plug it in the side there. And this is a brand new 6S 1250 milliampere hour LiPo. So plug it in over here, that way around, and you plug the balance lead in this way with the negative at the bottom. You can't really get this the wrong way around. And as you can see here, we've got the total pack voltage, which is 23.3, and the voltage of each of the cells. And these are all about the same, and at storage charge at the moment. They're all about, what's that, 3.87. So to start charging, you just press the switch and it defaults to charge. You can see at the top here, LiPo with a target voltage of 4.2 volts per cell and 6S. And most of this is automatically detected from the battery. Well, it's actually probably reading it from the balance port, to be honest. And if you want to change the type, these are the different chemistries it supports. High voltage LiPo, lithium ion, lead acid, nickel metal hydride and so on. But we're going to select LiPo. And you can choose between charge, discharge, storage voltage, DC power. This just means that you can use the output as a power supply if you want, DC power supply, or you can choose destroy, and that just simply discharges the battery down to 0 volts before you throw it away. But we are going to choose charge. There we go. And I'll charge this at 1 amp for now, but you can choose whatever voltage you want. And cleverly it puts the last 3 selected settings at the top, so it's quick to choose the ones that you use most often. So you hit start, and that's it. You get this very clear uncluttered display. Up here is a little progress bar showing you percentage along the top there, and the charge current that you set is on the left here. I set it at 1 amp, and this is what it's charging at now, which is 4 milliamps. That will build up over time. And you can see it's got the voltage of each cell shown down here. And as you can see, the display is very bright and clear, which is what you need if you're charging out in the field. I've got this set to low at the moment so it doesn't swamp out the camera. If you page down, this shows the internal resistance of each cell, which will even out on this new battery as it charges up. And ideally, these need to be identical. As the battery gets old and tired, you'll find these are very different, and it's a good indicator it's probably time to retire your pack. Page down again, and it just shows you the status of the charge. And if you just press the button, you can stop charging, or you can change the current on the fly, which is quite nice. And as you can hear, the fans come on. It just fires up when it needs to. So as you can see, using this is really straightforward. This 3-action switch can be a bit fiddly at first, but you get used to it very quickly, and it's much better than the scroll wheel. In terms of specs, this is the same wattage as the Q6 Lite. It's 200 watts and will charge at up to 8 amps. But the input voltage range for this is 10 to 30 volts, whereas the older Q6 Lite was 7 to 32. But that's no big deal. Also, this display is a little bit smaller than the Lite, but to be honest, it's a very easy to read display. It's pretty bright, and it's a very tidy UI design. So the big thing about this, I guess, is the price. It's only £22, which is around $28. And if I remember correctly, the Q6 Lite was around £35, something like that. So this is a good 30 to 35% cheaper, and that's always a bonus. I'll leave links in the description so you can check out the latest prices. Now, before I wrap up, there's a couple of things I want to show you. Although the balance lead here is keyed so you can't plug it in the wrong way, what happens if you plug it in the wrong position? Let's have a look. So we take this guy out, and I've got a 4S LiPo here, which I'll plug in. Now the balance lead can't go in the wrong way round, it's keyed, so it just won't let you plug it in, which is pretty normal. But with this 4S, you have to plug it so the negative is at the bottom here, like that. What happens if I plug it up there? As you can see, the display shows the top 4 slots are connected, and if you hit start, it barfs and tell you the balance lead is in the wrong position. Perfect. Let's get out of that. And the question I always get asked with these budget chargers is, how accurate are they? What's their end charge voltage? Well, let's have a look and see how well this has been set up. So to access the system page, you long press the button, and there's a whole load of settings in here, as you can see. Just unplug that, get it out of the way. You can set the lowest input voltage, which is defaulted to 10 volts at the moment. The maximum input power. Backlight setting, which I've got set to low so it doesn't swamp out the camera, but you can set that to medium and high. For outdoors, normally I'd leave that on high. And you can change the volume of the beep and the completion tone. So you can make it so it just beeps once, or it sort of nags you and repeats. You can set the language. There's a self-test, and what we're going to look at is calibration. So this is fresh out of the box. I haven't actually checked to see whether it's accurate or not. So let's see how accurately it's been set up. And I'll use this 6S LiPo again because it's fairly new. I'll use the same 6S LiPo so I can check all the ports. And I've already checked the actual cell voltages on here with a multimeter, and they're all around 3.89 to 3.9 volts, plus or minus a little bit. And the battery supply on the input is 16.49 volts. Long press. Let's go down here. Calibration. So these are actually all looking pretty good. So input is 16.5, 16.49 volts. So that's like 20 millivolts out. And then we can see these are all about 3.8, 3.8, 3.8. I'm sort of quite happy with those. Plus and minus 10 or 20 millivolts is fine for charging. But if they're off a bit, all you need to do is, let's go down to, let's say this one down here. Press to select it, and then you can just use the page up and the page down to set it to what it should be. So we'll leave that as it is. And do that to select it, and you scroll down here to save. If you want to go back, go back. Prompts you to save the data because you've changed it. I won't bother. And if you're using back-go batteries, this will display all the battery data. I mean, basically back-go is an ISDT initiative. That means there's a small chip buried in the battery that stores the status of the battery, things like charge cycles, max temperature and so on, and it talks to the charger using that additional pin on the XT60 connector. And this page down here just shows charger status, so it's the firmware version, that sort of thing. And that's it pretty much. For the money, this is a very nice little charger. The select switch is a little bit fiddly, but I got used to it very quickly, and it's dead easy to use and more than powerful enough for charging in the field or on the bench. And the display and the UI are very clear and easy to read. As always, thanks for watching, and if you found that useful, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. And if you want to see more like this, remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when I post new content. I'll see you next time.